If you want it, it can happen when you get out of the way. If you ask for it, it is given when you get out of the way. If you dream it, it can happen when you get out of the way. If you believe it, doors will open when you get out of the way. And it will come to you. It will come to you. It will come to you. Yes, dreams do come true.
That's the delightful little chime we use to begin our sessions. It also serves to sort out the evil ones among us. They have a hard time with that. If you were sitting next to one of them, you feel them, they just go, ooh.
You're the only one who really likes it.
Yeah, I do. I like it. We're going to go about 60-something minutes. That's across the face of a CD. And then there'll be 20 minutes to romp and play. And then we'll come back and have another 60 minutes recorded. And then there'll be lunch. And then we'll have 2 more recorded sessions. And that's how we'll get through the day. So it's being recorded. Someone probably gave you a little envelope that if you like, you can order a set of the recordings from today. We've always had our subscription programs. From the very beginning, we had a weekly tape program, we had a monthly tape program, and then along the way, some people wanted every word that Abraham ever spoke, so we had what was called a glutton program. Didn't go too well, so we renamed it. It's now called the Master's Program. That works a lot better. Anyway, because of that, we started packaging them nicer, and so if you order them for today, they'll come in. It'll be like a little album. In other words, and on the back it will have kind of what was discussed during the day, so you can kind of find your way through the day again. And we have 2 versions, of course, the old-fashioned rectangular version, and then we have the relatively new circular version. The old becomes new again. What does he mean by that? What do you mean by that? Oh, that's all right. No, weren't they round before they were square? And then they're going back to round again?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well...
When I was born, the iPod was here.
They used to be. Then you don't know what I'm talking about. So anyway, I guess, by the way, it's recorded, and if you have a question for Abraham or a comment or even a threat, it's always better if you stay right where you are and just raise your hand. Abraham will ask one of you to come up and sit in this chair in the front, and I'll put this boom microphone out in the front of you. That's an SM58. Some of you are pretty excited about that. If you're into that business, you say, oh man, that's the best you could get for that application. Of course it is. And
You've been reading the manual again, haven't you?
I did. And what it says, the manual says that you want to have your lips almost just touching the screen of that microphone. I mean, and those of you professionals, you know that. You're just going to, you want your tones to be just beautiful on the recording, so you'll just move right into it. But those of you who are not used to microphones, I'll put it about this close to your speaker, and you'll just kind of back off. You say, that's just too close for me, and I'll just have to move it up, and you'll back off, and I'll move it up. Up the aisle we'll go, but I'll get you. Eventually, I'll get you.
I think your trouble is over, because Karen taped it to the floor.
Oh. Yeah, we're going nowhere, right? Okay, you probably figured out how this thing works. Esther and I are here for the fun of it. So if anything meaningful happens, it's going to be you guys that make it happen. So, ta-da. Esther, will you bring your friends up to join us, please?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi. Goodbye. Good morning. We are extremely pleased that you are here. It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Do you agree? Yes. Mm-hmm. You are knowing what you are wanting? It expands, doesn't it? You like that? So since your desire constantly expands because of what you are living, that means there must always be a new idea that has not yet come to fruition. Is that right? And is that all right with you? Well, you should write that down. So many of our physical friends are in a position where their life has clarified for them that they want something beyond where they are. It may be an improvement in their physical condition. It may be an improved relationship or a missing relationship filled with a present relationship. It may be that they want material things that are more to their advantage, more money, nicer living conditions. It may be that they are wanting a greater sense of fulfillment, a clear idea of who they are and why they are here. But in every case, as your physical life causes you to clarify that you want something beyond where you are, there is always this gap between your realization that you are reaching for something and the actual receiving or obtaining of it. There is always that gap, and we want to call it the eternal gap of life. We want to call it the eternal gap of becoming. We want to call it the natural consequence where a genius, source energy creator, that's you, came forth from non-physical into a physical body with the precise intention of letting the contrast that surrounds you be the basis from which you would come to constant new conclusions of what would make life better for you. And you understood that when all of that happened, that not only would Source agree with you, but the larger part of you, which is still non-physical, even though you are in this physical body, would go immediately and directly to the full essence of what it is you are asking for. Something that is even more interesting to us that most humans miss altogether is that you carve your life out incrementally. In other words, none of you sits down at the breakfast table one morning and writes out your life plan. Instead, it is written by you incrementally. When you're rude, you write a plan that says, I want to be more who I really am when I'm interacting with others. When you're confused, you write a vibrational plan, so to speak, that says, I want more clarity. When you don't have enough money, you write a plan that says, I would like enough money to do what I'm wanting to do right now. When you are sick, your plan says, I want wellness. When you are unsteady, you want to be more steady. When you see your world not in the condition you want it to be, your plan says, I would like the world to improve in this way or this way. In other words, all day, every day, as you sift through the details of your life experience, you are at conscious but mostly unconscious levels, sending rockets of desire forward, which is what you knew you would do when you came forth. In fact, you knew that the evolution of your species, that the evolution of your time-space reality would happen because of you and those like you who are standing in this leading edge environment still asking for more. And from your non-physical perspective, you understand that the reason it works so beautifully is because this is a universe that is based upon attraction. So you knew you had to get here and have experiences that would make you ask for or call for the improvement. It's an eternal cycle of life. So the way it works is, from non-physical, you saw yourself here. As you came into this physical body, you see more still. And as you see more, as you see that which you would like to have, Source says you should know, leading edge creator, and so be it. So much so, in fact, we've written a book and given it the best title that we think could ever be given to a book because it speaks to all of this. And the title of the book is Ask and it is given. Now, an improved title, we wanted this one, but they all said it was way too long. An improved title would be, so I am non-physical energy, I project myself into a physical body, and then I weigh the consequences of physical life experience, and from that contrast I give birth to endless new desires, which source then becomes immediately at one with. Too long? But that really is what happens. In other words, we want you to know that not only when you ask is it given, we want you to understand that when you ask, the larger non-physical part of you literally becomes the vibrational equivalent of what you're asking for. So if you don't have enough money, and you ask for more money all day, every day, as you are sifting through the details of your life experience, you have amassed an incredible vibrational escrow of abundance. But most physical friends do not feel ownership of something until it is manifested into the physical stuff that they can translate with their physical senses. And we want you to understand that everything you see here, your planet itself, how it spins in its orbit with other planets, everything that you know as physical or material was thought first. It was thought, and then it became form. And in like manner, everything that you create, without exception, must be thought first, and then it is form. And so that's where we come in. You, in your form, live it and want it, and as you give thought to it, it is only thought, and then we give our thought to it, and now it is really thought, and now we stand in the thought of that which you are asking for, and we give our undivided attention to it, calling you forth to it. And when the whole of you catches up with the rest of you, that which was your thought becomes form, and you receive manifestation. How about that? So that's why we call this gathering the art of allowing. That's what that allowing part is. I find some way in my physical body to allow myself to become vibrationally up to speed with what I have formerly only thought about. You following? So step one says ask, and you can't help but do that. You're out here banging around in the physical. All kinds of things are happening, and so you're asking. Step two says source will answer. And that's where source doesn't just answer, source becomes what you are asking for. When you're sick, the non-physical part of you becomes weller than you were before you were sick. Because your exaggerated sickness has caused you to ask for the specifics of wellness in a way you have not done before. When you are confused about something that you have no knowledge about, and you want knowledge about it, the non-physical part of you becomes knowledgeable about that thing that you don't know anything about. When you see anything that you think would be improved and you offer even the slightest preference about it, the non-physical part of you becomes the non-physical embodiment, or non-embodiment if you will, of that which you are asking for. And so we like to say you're a little bit like a two-headed monster, and we'd like to get both heads going in the same direction. So when you ask for something and source becomes it, and you believe it or expect it or anticipate it and watch for it, now you're moving in the same direction as that which is your source, and you feel the alignment of that. It feels like joy, it feels like passion, it feels like fulfillment, it feels good to you. But when you ask for something and the non-physical part of you becomes it, and you keep beating the drum trying to justify why you want it, you see, I need this extra money because life has been so hard for me, you say. And so here is source energy over here tending to all of the money that you've been asking for that has been given to you, and you're over here beating the drum of justification or rationalization, trying to ply the universe with enough neediness that it will yield to you. And we say, you're not talking to your mother anymore. Sort of the way she trained you. You said, I want to have that. And she said, well, everyone wants things that they can't have. And you say, well, but I really want it. And she said, well, there are a lot of things I really want that I don't have. And then you say, but I need it. I need it, and without it, I will die. And she says, well, all right then. Now, it wasn't exactly that way all of the time, but that's the general theme that goes on. And so what happens to so many of our physical friends is you have come to the place of believing that if you plead a needy enough case, if you talk long enough and hard enough about what's going wrong in your experience, that then somebody will give up the goods. And we want you to understand that you're working against universal forces. Because vibrationally speaking, the vibration of what you've given birth to is one frequency, and your need is an entirely different frequency. In other words, you can't set your radio on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98 FM. In other words, they're different frequencies. The frequencies have to line up. So when your life has caused you to ask, and Source is riding the rocket, tending to the vibrational abundance of well-being that is your inheritance, your legacy, your creation, when that is the vibration that part of you is offering, and you're over here beating the drum of need, your frequencies are out of alignment, and you're not letting in what you want, and the emotion that you feel lets you know it. So your emotions are your indicator that let you know about the harmony or lack of harmony between the frequency that you are offering through your perception, through your personality, through your mood, through your attitude, through what you're talking about right now, through what you're thinking about right now, through what you're reading, through what you're watching on television. In other words, whatever you're giving your attention to has a vibration activated within you. And so the art of allowing asks the question, is the vibration that's activated within you right now by virtue of whatever you're giving your attention to, is it a match to what's in your vibrational escrow or not? If it's a match, there's alignment and manifestation is happening. If there's not a match, there's not alignment and manifestation can't happen. And that's why so many people that you know, maybe even you, have been asking for things for a long, long time, and they haven't come, which gives you the misimpression that it takes a long time to create big things. We say, it doesn't take any more time to create a castle than a button. It takes no more time to create big things than little things. But both require the same thing, a desire for it and an expectation of it, a belief. When your desire and belief are in the same place, it is done. But when you want something that you doubt, when you want something that you don't believe, when the evidence, when you say, oh, Abraham, I'd like to believe you, but I've struggled my whole life. And we say, well, stop it. And you say, I can't stop it. I've learned it from those who have come before me. It's just what we do here. Imagine taking your canoe down to the river's edge, a very nice, fast-moving stream, and your oars or paddles are already attached to your boat, and you put it in the water, and you deliberately turn it upstream and begin paddling very hard against this fast-moving current. And we say, why not just turn and go with the flow? And our human friends invariably say, doesn't that seem lazy? That seems lazy. And then they will say, my mother would not approve of that. Or my teachers. They all had me pointing the other way. In fact, every plaque on my wall was based upon paddling upstream. And I was measured against the others who did it too. And the better we did it, the better we were able to fight that current, then the more proud our human friends were of us, and the bigger the trophies and monuments. And we hear that when you die, there are even more. And we want you to know something. In fact, it's worth writing this down. Nothing that you want is upstream. Nothing that you want is upstream. And the reason we know that is because we've seen the cycle of life. We know that Source extended itself here into that which is you. And we know that you are asking, as a result of your leading edge experience, just like you knew you would, for more. And we know that Source is becoming that more that you are asking for and is calling you to it. And so we know the source of the stream. And we know that when you turn and go with the stream, you feel ever so good. That's what positive emotion is. Varying degrees of it, but it's what positive emotion is. And we also know that when you buck that current, it can beat up on you pretty good. And that's what negative emotion is. We want you to understand that there is only one stream that you might be going with or against, but there is only one stream. And when you learn from those around you to go against the stream, then you want to pronounce that there are evil streams, that there are streams of sickness or streams of badness or streams of poverty. We say, no, just one stream. You're just not going with it. You say, oh, that can't be. If it's a stream of goodness, why is it beating me up so? And we say, because you're clinging to the bottom. It's beating you up because you're not going with your self-created stream. Do you get this? Jerry and Esther had the wonderful experience of going whitewater rafting in Colorado a few weeks ago. And as they were riding up the canyon with many other people on this bus full of bloated people with big life preservers wrapped around them, they looked out the window at this stream and they were amazed at the speed of this stream. The water was very high from the snow melt, and the stream was not a meandering stream, it was a raging river. And at some places it was rated rapids of 4, which were rapids to behold, and many rapids that were 3. And as Jerry and Esther looked at them, they said to each other, we must be out of our minds. How would anyone survive that, for example, or that? And then they remembered the disclaimer that the river company had made them sign, which made it sound improbable that they would survive anyway. And as they put their boats in the water, there were several other boats along with their boat. And in their boat were their 6 friends and 2 river guides. And as they put that boat in the water, it became very obvious to all of them that they were going to have no success at all in paddling upstream. This river was going to take them downstream. And that really is the strongest point that we want to make with you. This stream of well-being is a powerful stream, and it takes you downstream whether you go easily or not. In other words, when you look around at your environment, you've just got to acknowledge that well-being abounds. Your planet continues to spin in its orbit. And even beyond the well-being that is obvious, more obvious to some of you than others, granted, but even beyond the well-being that is obvious, we want to remind you that even when you get further downstream and you have that which you call your physical death, which there isn't any of, we like to be disrespectful of death since there isn't any and call it croaking. When you croak, you really move rapidly with this stream of well-being. In other words, the stream of well-being is not only dominant, it's all that there is. So while you can be in this physical body and you can fume and fuss and give yourself a lot of grief and point in opposition of the stream to the point that you beat yourself up pretty good and then claim that there cannot possibly be a stream of well-being because your life is going so badly, we want to say to you, if you would let go of your resistance and start going with the flow, you will discover how good this stream can be to you. The river guide said to all of Jerry and Esther's friends, you know, that rock is not moving with the flow. And because it isn't, and the water is rushing past it, if we get our raft sideways up against one of those rocks, it will be big trouble for us. It could turn us over, trap you in the rocks, and the stream will beat you up. So the idea is not to get up against one of those boulders that is not moving. He made it very clear. He said, if you will listen to me, I will guide you around them. And if you don't listen to me, you may end up against one of those rocks. And we say, the same thing applies in the stream that is flowing so rapidly. When you let yourself go with it, you have a glorious ride. But when you paddle against it or cling to the bottom, when you don't let yourself go, that's what fear and depression, that's what that feeling of loss of control is. That's what that feeling of disempowerment is. And we also want to remind you that this stream is not being assigned to you by someone else, source or God or someone benevolent or not benevolent is not saying, oh, let's speed up their stream and see how well they do. You are the one that makes your stream go to the speed it does. A mother on a recent seminar took a break during segment of lunch and had lunch with her child, who said to her, when you get back, if you get a chance, would you please ask Abraham a question for me? And she said, I will. And he said, why are grown-ups so grumpy? And we said, it is the best question we've heard, and it applies to what we're talking about here more than anything else that we can think of. Grown-ups are more grumpy than children. There are grumpy children, but grown-ups on the whole are much more grumpy than children because they've lived more life and they've got a faster moving stream. And when your stream is moving fast and you're not flowing with it, it's beating you up and it makes you grumpy. In other words, it just comes down to one thing, and that is, if you are to be the joyful being you want to be and that you are meant to be, you've got to go with the flow. And when you don't feel good. It's just that simple. Not going with the flow of your own creation is what makes you feel unfulfilled. It's what makes you feel dissatisfied, and worse, it's what makes you feel overwhelmed. It's what makes you feel frustrated. It's what makes you feel angry. It's what makes you feel fearful. It's what makes you feel discouraged and depressed. Not going with the flow is what is at the heart of every negative emotion that you feel. So when you think about that, break it down into the simple terms that we want you to hear. That means that your life, just like you knew it would, has caused you to launch many rockets of desires that, if you're feeling negative emotion, you're not keeping up to speed with. On the other hand, if you do keep up to speed with the rockets of desires you've launched, you feel wonderful. You feel wonderful when you launch the desire. You feel wonderful even before the desire manifests. You feel wonderful even though you don't even see the evidence of it manifesting yet. You feel wonderful, 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 all the way to manifestation. And when you feel wonderful, manifestation of what you want is assured. And when you don't feel wonderful, manifestation is slowed, maybe even held apart your entire lifetime from you, and most important, even more important than you not manifesting what you want, is that you feel rotten all the time while you're not letting it flow. So we want you to get a sense from this analogy that we're offering, a very apt, appropriate analogy, that if you will just make a decision that however you can make it happen, you're going to turn and go with the flow. Sometimes we think, especially those of you who've been listening to us for a while, as we crow about the good feeling emotions being on this end of the emotional scale, love and joy and all of that wonderful energy, and on the other end of the scale are things that feel like depression and fear and anger. And we know that we give you the impression that your work is to not only not be on this end of the scale, but get to this end of the scale as quickly as possible. And of course, we'd rather that you felt this way than this way. But what we really want you to understand is that since the stream is moving, we really are not asking you to turn your boat downstream and put a motor on it and get all the way down here as quickly as you can. Because we know the power of the stream. You don't have to do that. In fact, you don't even have to turn your boat in the stream. Just stop paddling upstream. Just stop paddling against the current. The current will turn you. And this is the thing we most want you to hear. As the current turns you, that's your point of relief. And when you think about it, that is your only choice, upstream or not. Upstream or not. Of course, it's nice when you're choosing downstream and you're so good at it that you can really choose it. But your choice in any moment is really to feel worse or better. Worse or better. And when you make that decision all day, every day, I could beat the drum of this situation and make it worse, or I could just stop talking about it and make it better. Esther's really been hearing us about this, and as she's driving the monster bus, often Jerry's in the back doing something, and she will call out, "Can you hear me?" And he'll say, "Yes, what do you need?" as he starts making his way forward so that they can have a conversation. And by the time he gets all the way up there, Esther is determined, oh wait, that was an upstream comment. So he gets all the way to the front of the bus and she'll say, "Never mind." It was sort of upstream. And Jerry is wise enough that he doesn't say, "Oh, come on, tell me." He doesn't want to know the upstream comment. He's very happy to go back to the back of the bus where he was living happily ever after. In other words, he does not want to go to some place, and Esther is wise enough that she doesn't want to verbalize it. And what she's discovering is, if she doesn't verbalize it, it's not as strong. If she doesn't talk about it, join the online group about it, call everybody she knows about it. In other words, if you stop talking about the things that make you feel worse, you'll stop going upstream. The current will take you because the current is moving. It is moving rapidly, and it will carry you, you see. Can you imagine if Jerry and Esther said to the river guide, "Where are we going to get out of the stream?" And he would say, "Oh, down in Fort Collins, several miles downstream." Can you imagine them saying, "Well, in that case, we would like you to put us back on the bus and carry us and our boat down to about 500 feet from where we're going to get out, because we like instant manifestation." We just want to get in, get to our destination and be done with this. And he would say, all right, crazy lady. I thought you wanted a ride on the river. And that is what your inner being is saying to you. We thought you wanted a ride on this river. And you would say, I did want a ride on the river when I thought it was going to be fun. I just don't like being bashed against these rocks. And we say, then stop clinging to them. And you say, well, how would I do that? And we say by saying, never mind, it was an upstream comment. Never mind, never mind. As you begin to withdraw your attention from those things that feel bad when you think about them, when you stop talking about what you don't want and what's not working, you see, you've asked for more money. And every time you say, there's not enough money, that costs too much money, they're asking for too much money, this is highway robbery, who do they think they are? The rich are taking advantage, the government is spending our money inappropriately. Look at that kid driving that beautiful car, the car I've wanted all of my life. He doesn't deserve it. His mother probably bought it for him. Who did he have to kill? He's probably doing drugs. He's probably dealing drugs. When you beat those drums that make your negative emotion feel stronger, you are practicing your muscles at moving upstream. And some of you get so good at it. You get so good at it that, in fact, when you come to a gathering like this where we're encouraging you to make more comments that feel better, many of you say, it feels like my thoughts are thinking me. I don't mean to think these thoughts. I don't mean to feel this way. It's just easier, frankly, to have those thoughts than to have those thoughts. And we say, oh, it's because you've worked so hard at getting yourself in that direction. But the real reason is because law of attraction, the most powerful law in the universe, the only law worth talking about, says this is a vibrational universe, and what you are offering vibrationally is coming to you. And as it comes to you and you observe it, now it comes to you even more. So you have to do something to break the cycle of that attraction. And it's not the easiest thing when you've got that momentum going, even though it was hard momentum to get going. It's not the easiest thing to change a belief. That's all. A belief is only a thought that you keep thinking. It's only a habit of thought. And we want you to let yourself off the hook by reminding you that the reason that the habit of thought is so easy to maintain is because law of attraction is delivering to you more thoughts that are like it. Haven't you noticed that when you start ragging on something that is unpleasant, other things like it come to your mind? Things that happened last year and the year before and the year before that and the year before that. And don't you notice then that when you start offering that vibration, that other people that feel the same way start making their way into your experience? Jerry and Esther notice it in the campground. They'll see there are hundreds of coaches, sometimes in some of these campgrounds that they stay in as they move across the nation. And they'll see a cluster of happy people over there and a cluster of ornery people over there. And the thing that is most interesting is that they know, in most cases, they just met each other today. They didn't drive in a happy cluster or an unhappy cluster. They didn't come. We belong to the ornery RV club. And we travel in a pack. It's not that way. They just show up, and law of attraction causes them to gravitate together. So the crabby ones are over there. The ones that like to take walks together are over there. The ones that like to play cards together are over there. The ones that like to talk about their grandchildren are over there. In other words, it is like this island of attraction. And we say it's that where everywhere you go, you move through traffic, and those who are a vibrational match to you gravitate to you. You move through shopping centers, those who are a vibrational match to you. You go to a restaurant, that which is a vibrational match to you. In other words, if you get the spinach that is tainted, it's not by accident. Law of attraction never makes that mistake. Nothing ever comes to you that is not a vibrational match to who you are, you see. So as you come to realize that law of attraction is this powerful law, and therefore it's logical, since I've been feeling this way, maybe something happened. It came out of the blue. It didn't even seem like it had anything to do with me. It always does, or it doesn't come to you. But something happens. Maybe somebody that you love had something happen to them. And as you are observing it, you have this knee-jerk response. You have this kick in your gut, so to speak. You feel terrible in observing it. And as you give your attention to it, the negative emotion that you feel is your indication that what you want is this way, and that what you're looking at is this way. And many of our physical friends would say, but Abraham, I didn't ask for this. This just happened to my family, or this just happened to my community. This just happened, and all I'm doing is observing it. And we say, we know that. All that you're doing is observing it. But in observing it, you are activating a vibration within you that is contrary to who you really are. And even though it is true and you are observing it, even though it is factual and you are observing it, your guidance is saying, turn away from it, because your observation of this unwanted thing has you offering a vibration of resistance, which is keeping you from moving in the direction of what you are wanting. So did we make the point with you that source energy flowed with you into this physical body, and that as life causes you to ask for more, that source energy becomes that which you are asking for and continues to call you toward it? That really is what inspiration is. It's that feeling of being called in the direction of source. And many of our physical friends would say, well, that sounds good, but what does the call of source sound like? Harps and angels, surely. And we say, well, that depends on where you are in relationship to it. If you're in despair, the call of source does not sound like harps and angels. It does not sound like love and appreciation. You're translating it through vibrational ears that are not hearing it that way. If you are in despair, which feels like powerlessness, and you are moving in the direction of source, it may very well feel like revenge, which feels only slightly better than despair, but it does feel better. If you're in despair, the call of source may very well feel like anger, and then it feels like less anger, and then it feels like frustration and overwhelmment, and eventually it begins to feel like hope, belief, and knowing. When you come into alignment with source, you feel fulfilled, you feel satisfied, you feel expectant, you feel positive emotion. And so to the degree that you feel positive or negative emotion, that's to the degree that you've turned and are moving in the direction of it. But we want you to leave this gathering with a firm decision within you, or at least an understanding, that Abraham is not asking you to move from one end of the scale to the other. All we're asking for your well-being is that you just stop paddling so hard upstream, and in your attempt to try to quiet your mind, or at least change the subject, that you stop this direction away from who you are, and in that process, your boat will turn and you will begin moving, and the relief will happen right then. So what you're reaching for again and again is the relief factor. Imagine, all day, every day, no matter where you put into the stream, and after all, this is worth writing down too. Where I am is where I am. And where I am is where I am. There's no point in saying, no, I want to be in the stream over there. Where you are is where you are, but does it really matter? Does it matter where you put your boat into the stream? If the stream's moving in the direction of everything that you want, does it matter? Does it matter where you put your boat in if the stream is moving toward what you want, and the stream is enough current, and that all you have to do is just not do that thing you do that keeps you from moving comfortably? We think this is a very good analogy, this stream analogy, because it is really in alignment with the way the universal forces flow. And it really gives you the best picture that we could ever give you of what your work is in fulfilling your life's purpose. You see, many of you think that I've got to come forth into a physical body and I've got to work hard in order to achieve. And what we're wanting you to understand is life itself causes you to do the real work, which is come to your own preferences. But then you say, but how valid are my preferences? And we say, so valid that when you come to one, source agrees with it and becomes it. And you say, but what about God? Or what about, isn't there someone smarter than me who has already made the decisions about what I should be and how I should create? And we say, that broader, non-physical essence wisely projected you here. In other words, the decision to be here in this environment may be what you're reaching for in that question. But in any event, no matter how you want to see how you got here, the fulfillment of your reason for being here will only be satisfied when you make an effort to follow your bliss. And sometimes you can't even get a whiff of bliss. So that's why, rather than saying, follow your bliss, we're saying, try to move in the direction of your bliss by not paddling against the current. And as you begin playing with this, You'll really get the hang of this fast. You'll begin to notice that as you turn and turn and turn and turn, and you begin to move with the current, that it becomes less significant to you whether that thing you want manifests this red hot minute or not, because once you begin going with the flow, you're not unhappy. It's only going against the flow that makes you unhappy. As Jerry and Esther were driving here yesterday, they drove down from Chicago, and they had surprisingly wide open traffic until they got to the outskirts of this city. And as they were sitting there, traffic was not moving at all. It made them feel uncomfortable because they had a deadline. They had people they wanted to meet at a certain time. And as the traffic came to a complete stop, they felt agitated. But then as they began moving, Esther was driving about 70 miles an hour most of the way from Chicago to here. And now she's going 0 miles an hour, which felt uncomfortable. But then the traffic started loosening up a little bit, and now she's going about 10 miles an hour, but she felt relief. In other words, 10 miles an hour was so much better than no miles an hour. And can you imagine how terrible it would have felt to turn around and go in the wrong direction? So this is the sensation we're wanting you to begin to feel, that if you will just stop going against the direction that you're wanting to go, you will begin to feel the relief. And now you know these are your only choices, worse or better. No matter where you stand, no matter what subject you are contemplating, you have two choices. You don't have the choice of absolute complete manifestation right now or not. You don't have that choice. You don't have the choice of knowing every answer to every question you've ever wanted to know right now. You don't have that choice. The choice that you have is, I can feel worse right now about this subject or better. And we want you to feel with us that this is not a limited choice. This choice is enough. It's not only the only choice you have, it's huge. That's the only choice you ever need to make. If you make a decision that you're going to try to make something feel better than it feels right now, then you're beginning to develop the habit of always turning downstream. And do you know, a week or two of deliberately turning downstream is all you need to start feeling wonderful. And do you know, 30 days of feeling wonderful is all you need to manifest the biggest of dreams you've ever had? Do you know that you are 30 days away or less from everything that you've been asking for if you would just stop doing this? In other words, that sounds implausible, doesn't it? You've got to be kidding, Abraham. I've wanted that all of my life, and you're telling me that it's 30 days away? And we say, it's less than that away if you get turning and going with the flow, because you wanted it and it is created, and the universe knows how to take you to it. The circumstances and events are all lined up, and when you follow your bliss, you're going to find the path. And you know what's been keeping you from getting there? Keep going that way. No, I'm not. You say, yes, you are. We say, you're going that way. Well, I don't mean to go that way. I don't want to go that way. I want to go the other way because I'm miserable going this way. You're going that way. I know, but I hate going this way. I don't want to go this way. You're still going that way. Well, it's not my fault that I'm going this way. You're still going that way. It's my mother's fault. Still going that way. Maybe it's karmic. Maybe it's from a past life. You're still going that way. Well, it's not fair that I'm going this way. You're still going that way. Well, what am I doing wrong? You're still going that way. Well, how am I going to get this boat turned around? You're still going that way. I need to turn the boat around. I want to get this 30-day thing underway. I want to go the other way. You're still doing that thing. Well, Abraham, this seems impossible. You're still going that way. Well, just tell me what to do. Pet your cat. Quiet your mind. Stop watching those programs that inflame that. Stop talking to those people that talk about those things that keep you pointed that way. Look for reasons to feel good. Make a list of positive aspects. Look for things to appreciate. So it really is about think and feel, think and feel, think and feel, think and feel, think and feel. And at first, you're going to think and feel and think and feel and think and feel and think and feel and think and feel, because that's how you've been thinking and feeling, and that's what law of attraction's giving you. But before you know it, you're going to think something that feels not so much that way. And as you do, as you withdraw your attention, do you know when you sleep, your boat turns around every time? When you go to sleep, your boat turns around in the stream every single time. And when you wake up, you say, oh yeah, what was I mad about? And you turn back around. But if before you go to bed, you could say, while I sleep, my boat's going to turn around, and when I wake up, I'm going to lie in bed and I'm going to think about the positive aspects of my life. Now when you wake up, you get a little momentum going this way. And it doesn't take very much effort of getting them. Now we're really making this sound like you are an upstream crowd, and you're not. But relative to those things that you want that have not been coming to you, you have been an upstream thinker. You have been. Otherwise, you'd have what you want. So if you don't have enough money, you've been more this way upstream than you have downstream. If your relationship is not pleasing you or is missing altogether, you've been thinking more about things that make you feel bad relative to that than good. If you are not in your body feeling the way you want to, you've been thinking more upstream about it than you have down. If you're overwhelmed in your life, you've been thinking much more about how much you have to do than about the ease in your life. In other words, the universal law of attraction never yields to you something that is different from your vibrational frequency. So when you say, okay, I get it. I can find softer thoughts, and every day I'll get better at it. And as you do, you'll turn and go with the current. And immediately you'll start feeling better. And people who are watching you will say, what's changed? Did you get that job you were looking for? Or did you get over that illness? Or did the money that you need come in? And you'll say, no. Then why are you so happy? I know it's illogical, you'll say. Because what I thought I needed to be happy hasn't happened yet. I've just stopped doing what was making me unhappy. And I felt better. And then say to them, and I think I'm on the right track. I just don't think you can feel this good without good things beginning to flow into your experience. And we say, those would be the most accurate words that you could ever speak. You can't feel negative emotion and let the good stuff in, and you can't feel positive emotion and keep the good stuff out. You just can't. When you get turned correctly in the stream, and correctly we mean going with the flow of that which is your natural inheritance, all good things will flow to you. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about utilizing your guidance system to know what's upstream and what's downstream. We're talking about you using 2 points of vibrational relativity in order to know. Just like the navigational systems in your vehicles, Jerry and Esther have 4 different kinds now. But they all operate on the same premise. The system knows where they are. They program in their desired destination, and then the system gives them turn-by-turn directions of how to get from where they are to where they want to be. The other day, they bought a new system. It's a Garmin. It's their favorite by far. And it's a portable system, and it's in their tow car. But they plug it into the cigarette lighter, and it sits on a little sandbag so it can be moved from vehicle to vehicle. So Esther unplugged it from the car and put it in the monster bus as they began to drive. And she programmed Pioneer, which is in the bus, and Garmin, which is the portable system. From where they are, she programmed them to the same destination. So now she says to Jerry, I'm in good hands. You can go back and do whatever you need to do. I have guidance. And off they go. And all of a sudden, she comes to a juncture in the freeways, and Pioneer says, get in the right lane and take this road to the right. And Garmin says, get in the left lane and take this road to the left. And she has them turned up very, very loud. And then she hears Jerry piping in from the back about something. And she says to all of them, I'm not listening to any of you. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Because she realized she was in a sort of critical position. She was in 6 or 7 lanes of traffic. Everyone was driving at breakneck speed. She's 70 feet long, about, moving 70 miles an hour, and she's getting mixed messages about which way to go. It was chaos for a moment, almost a panicked sort of feeling. That feeling of indecision, that feeling of undecidedness, that is a horrible situation to be in. And yet, you put yourself in that situation all day, every day, when you say, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think, political party of mine? What do you think, religion of mine? What do you think, ancestor of mine? What do you think, mother of mine, father of mine, partner of mine, peer group pressure of mine? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And if there are 10 of them, they think 10 different things. If there are 20 of them, they think 20 different things. In other words, they're thinking a lot of different things. And if you are trying to listen to the voice that is the loudest, you have an uncomfortable situation going on where all along you have an intuitive gut feeling that if you learn to listen for it, you will not be confused about which way to go. And so we call that using the vibrational relationship between who you are, letting yourself be in this moment, and who you have become. And that's the thing that we most want you to leave this gathering knowing. You didn't come into this physical experience intending to stand in this static place, not evolving or expanding. You knew, in fact, the reason that you came was you knew that the variety would cause you to constantly become more, and that your guidance would then call you toward the more that you had become. So when you have a feeling of unfulfillment, what it means is your life caused you to ask for something that for some reason you're not letting yourself go to. And the majority of the time that you're not allowing yourself to go to it is because somebody has trained that out of you. Your natural impulse is always to follow your bliss. And when you're little, you do that until somebody says to you, it's inappropriate for you to be pleasing yourself all the time. And you want to say, no, it isn't. I'm sure I'm right. They say, no, you are not supposed to please yourself. And in very short order, you learn, because they're bigger than you are, that sometimes it goes better for you initially if you please them. Because most of them are still trying to control the conditions, and they convince you, when you do that, I feel bad, and when you do that, I feel good. So you should do what makes me feel better. Which works out all right for you when there's just one of them, but get 2 of them plugged in and trying to give you guidance, it makes you a little crazy, or more, you see. And so then it seems that the only way a little tyke can grow up and feel any reasonable happiness is if his family can get him into a culture where everybody thinks pretty much the same. So he doesn't have these split messages going on. And do you know that's what so many societies are doing? They want to put their children in special schools, and they want to keep their children from being exposed to this, and they want to cloister them. They want to put them into a dark cave where they cannot be exposed to things that might cause them some concern or some confusion. And what we're wanting you to do is to get out into the light and to activate your own guidance system so that you are not afraid, but instead you are confident that under any and all conditions you can tell which direction to go. Because the call of Source, once you begin to listen to it, is an undeniable call. You'll get so wise that you'll know that Source always calls you toward kind words, never critical words. You'll get so sensitive to the call of Source that when you're hating someone for their color, for their religion, for their whatever, you'll get so sensitive to the call of Source that you'll know, I am violating the very premise from which I was born and to that which I have become. Hatred does not become me, you will discover. When you find fault with yourself, you'll come to know that's me choosing to think about myself in a way that Source never does, and I'm splitting my energy. When you hate someone else, you'll realize I'm finding a thought that Source would never find, and I'm splitting my energy. When you drop bombs in the name of God, no matter which side of the battle you're on, we promise you your energy is split. You never, ever, ever do anything like that from your place of alignment with Source. It's always from your place of disconnection, from your place of fear, from your place of not knowing about the stability of your life experience. When you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and in alignment with that which is Source, everything that comes from you feels good as it comes forth from you. And so, in time, with a little bit of practice, worse, better, worse, better, worse, better, worse, better, you'll get so in sync with the natural rhythm of who you are that you will be able to look at something that is abhorrent in nature, maybe the behavior of your government or someone else's, maybe the behavior of someone in your community, maybe the behavior of someone in your family or in your relationship. And you will be so accustomed to be in alignment with Source that you can see them in their behavior, in their condition that is abhorrent. And you will still be able to see them through the eyes of love, because you have discovered what unconditional love really is. Unconditional love is training myself into the rhythm of who I am, rather than responding to the conditions. Unconditional love is tending to my vibration first, and then experiencing what law of attraction yields to me as a result of that, rather than looking out into an environment and attempting the impossible, which is to control conditions. You can't control your children, have you noticed? And when you try, they don't like you. And you don't like you either. When you understand that they've got guidance within them, and when you let your dominant intent be to live your life by example, which is to get in the flow of that which you are and be in alignment with that which you are as much as you can. When you set that example for your children, you teach them self-sufficiency. You teach them the only place that they will ever really find freedom and empowerment. You teach them that freedom and empowerment comes from personal alignment, and then they can go out into the world without hating and without altering conditions, and they can live happily ever after, going with the stream, living out the legacy that they set forth even before they were born into this body, and that they have added to every waking moment since. We've just given to you the best version that we've ever given of how this all fits together and of who you are. You are source energy in physical bodies, and life is supposed to be good for you. And if it isn't, it is your doing. Because everything that you are living and everything that you are feeling is about only two factors: how fast your stream is flowing and which way you're pointed in it. And you've got control of both. Your life caused you to make your stream go the speed that it is going, and the direction or choices that you are making are what are responsible for the way the stream is carrying you or beating you up. And now you know that. You will never again feel negative emotion and not know the simple truth that it tells you is that you are bucking the current of who you've become. In other words, you are defying something that you have already become, and you just can't do that and feel good. You got to turn and go with the flow. And all day here today, we'll chat with you about how to do that relative to the subjects that are important to you. There is nothing that is off limits here. Every question is eagerly welcomed. You will notice the perfect unfolding. And of course, you're getting the theme of this gathering, aren't you? The art of allowing. The art of allowing myself to go in the direction of that which I truly am. How good is that? So, what do you want to talk about? You are the one.
I hope I ask this for a lot of people, but when I've been here 3 times, and I think I've been listening to your material for maybe 12 years, and I can get so excited about it and really understand it at every level, and I can go along, and then I hit a slump, and I get so stuck that it's really hard climbing out of the hole, and I feel like however fast I go, I take, 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Well, we know that. We know that about not you, but you are asking that for a lot of people. And that, in fact, is the reason that we are telling you the story of life in the way that we are here today. Because there are so many of you that are over here when you want to be over here. And you're applying processes, you're trying to do everything you can do to get over there. And what we want you to understand is that you can't jump over there, and even the effort or the wanting to get over there is counterproductive, because it's not possible for you to get from here to over there. And so we think that the words that you've heard here today are just make an effort not to do that. Just try to withdraw the beating of the drum of what you don't want, and let this natural stream turn you, and then notice the relief that you feel. If you will let not bouncing off the wall positive emotion be your goal, but just relief. It's just the relief factor. I'm just looking for turning points all day long. I'm just looking for worse or better, worse or better. That's all I've got to do. Feel better, not worse, better, not worse, better, not worse. And what you will begin to notice is that just by applying that one technique, you know so much, and you've done such a good job of identifying what it is you want. And you have a stream that is moving very fast, so a little bit of negative emotion goes a long way with you. And you are just too critical of yourself. You're too quick to say, I'm not doing well. And in the moment you take score and say, I should be doing better, you turn upstream and everything gets harder. And that's why it feels like such a big slump, is because you become so hard on yourself. So now you've listened to us and we've said the same thing over and over and over again. Now we think it's more likely for you to be aware of that potential turning point. Really, friends, there are only, as far as you are concerned, in any moment in time, there are only two emotions. One that feels worse and one that feels better. You really don't have access to the emotion of joy or the emotion of agony or the emotion of appreciation or the emotion of despair. In other words, you don't always have those choices, and you don't ever have the choice of both of those things at the same time. You've only got the choice of feeling a little better or feeling a little worse. And it's all relative, isn't it? So when you decide that you're going to take this idea of relativity to heart, and you're going to factor out what others are saying or thinking. In other words, never mind what they're doing or how they're succeeding or what's going on in their life. The only thing that matters to you is your gap and your relationship with it. And you're always going to have a gap to close. So, in other words, life's going to keep causing you to ask for more. So there's always going to be something unfulfilled in the process of becoming. So when you make peace with the inevitability of there always being something more for you to go toward, and you become satisfied with the knowledge that you can at least turn in the direction of it, and you say, not only is that all that I can do, but it is enough. In other words, that's what life is. Life's not accomplishing this. Life is turning in the direction of it, because as soon as you accomplish it, and even before you accomplish it, there's more, and then more, and then more, and then more. And you say, well, this is like a hoax, Abraham. It's like the carrot. It's on the end of the stick, and no matter how close I get to it, there's something else I want. And we say, yeah, pretty much. Except that what you begin to notice is that the carrot keeps changing, and when you get it, that it was never getting the carrot that life was about, but moving in the direction of the carrot that life was about. It's about letting life cause me to be more and then moving in the direction of that. That's where the satisfaction of life is, you see. So just play with this new idea for a little while, and we think everything will come into place for you. For a while, we called this gathering the science of deliberate creation, and you all got way too serious about it. I must deliberately create. I must make lists of things that are my goals, and I must hold myself valiantly toward only these ideas. And then you'd find yourself thinking a thought that you didn't mean to thought, and you go, suck, try to suck it back in before the universe got hold of it. And we say, oh, you worked far too hard when it was a science of deliberate creation. And so now we say, it's the art of allowing. It's the art of allowing yourself to be that which life naturally causes you to become. We say, it's a sure thing. It's a done deal. You cannot fail. And then you say, well, if I can't fail, then how do I prove my worthiness? And we say, that's our point. There is no worthiness to prove. There is no worthiness to prove. There's just going with the flow or not, going with the flow or not, going with the flow or not, going with the flow or not. And the more you go with the flow, the easier it is to continue to go with the flow. It really is simpler than you have all been making it out to be. Life is supposed to be fun. And what's in your vibrational escrow is magnificent. We've seen it. And we never stop, along with your inner being and all that you know as source, we never stop beating the drum of that which you have become. There is a light that is so bright and a call that is so loud, we never stop calling you toward it. And if you will listen even a little bit, you will hear the call of source. And it will sound like different things to you on different days. The honorier you are, the honorier it will sound. The better you are, the better it will sound. In other words, but you always know, you always know, you always know, we know that you always know. You can tell what feels worse and what feels better. You just haven't known how important it is to choose what feels better. And now you do. And for now, we will express to you our appreciation of that which you are. The universe cannot expand without the likes of you. And we appreciate you for what you've put into vibrational escrow, for future generations are being born on the stream of what you've put there. And we appreciate you for the struggle that you've lived in some places and for the ease with which you've lived in others. We appreciate you for the variety that you've lived and for the promise of the future that you've set forth for all of us. But most of all, we appreciate you for your willingness to come here to an environment like this and chew with us endlessly out here on this leading edge, helping us to find yet more ways to express to you the power of that which you are, and to remind you that life is supposed to be fun. As you live as examples of those who understand and live the art of allowing, others will find you. Law of attraction will see to that. You have no assignments and no responsibilities. There is great love here for you. And as always, we remain eternally incomplete.
Our primary intent with this work is to connect with those who are attracting this information, and Esther and I are most appreciative of the role of your intentions in this joyous, co-creative experience. For additional tapes, CDs, books, videos, catalogs, or to reserve your space at an Abraham Hicks Art of Allowing workshop, please call 755-2299, area code 830, or write to Abraham Hicks Publications at Post Office Box 690070, San Antonio, Texas, and the zip code is 78269. Also, for an immediate overview of our works, visit our interactive website at www.abraham-hicks.com.